Alright, now comes the part where we find out exactly what my mic is doing today. Let's just do a quick... Why are you telling me that I'm offline? I need to do a sound check. I can't do a sound check if you're telling me I'm offline. Let's see how this goes. Oh, there we go. One sec. Let's see how this is looking. Beautiful. Alright. I'm going to have all of about 3 pixels on this stream, it looks like, but at least I do not have mic whining noise. Apparently. Okay. Let me... That's the wrong thing. There we go. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to give everybody a moment to sort of slowly trickle in, and I'm going to refamiliarize myself with what the heck is going on. Okay. You know what? We're gonna do some fiddling with this. Are we? Yes, we are. Where are we? Cool. Oh, I don't like that color, so I'm not gonna use it. Cool. Awesome. Yes. Hello. Welcome, Riss. Yes, we're doing outline things. The thing that I've just done is, because I know it's going to be a while, I wouldn't necessarily bother with this if it was like something I was working on regularly. But because I only work on this one once every week to 2 weeks, depending on what I'm doing with streams and recording and things, I have just given myself a little note to show myself where the outline that is finished ends and where the outline where my placeholder and idea scenes begin. So we got up to here last time. Do you have something that you're working on at the moment? Have you brought a project to work on as we go? Just making sure that I just want to see what you're up to. Saw your first movie in theaters since 2019 today. That is a long time. Mind you, it's not like I've been to that many movies in that time frame in theaters. I've been to a few. Which one was this? I think you were telling me about that, but I haven't gone through and actually responded to all of my Discord messages yet this morning, so... in the DMs, but it was The Long Walk. Because you finished the novella. Yes, yes. I have heard very good things about that. I do have that on my list. The novella as well as the movie. But, yeah. Very, very interested to see where that goes. Let me pull up my notes as well. That will be the wrong thing, won't it? Yes, it will. Read the novella, it was good. The movie, well, they got the Hunger Games guy to direct it. Enough said, really. Yeah, that's probably about all you need to know, isn't it? Alright. Do I actually have... Yes, I do have. Let me see if I can... that's the wrong type of thing. Where is Kitty Cat? Don't want to spoil once you've experienced it. Yes, deal. We shall do the thing. Where is... That's not the correct object. That's not the correct object either, but it's closer. Ha! That's definitely not the correct object. This is how this is going to work. Have I just... yeah. Oh, God. Oh, green screen. Told your sister when you saw it and asked if I liked it. I have opinions, which means see the movie so I can... Yes. I have opinions is code for I need to yell at about this with someone who has experienced it as well. You gonna let me plug in the thing? There we go. Where are we? Oh, can I just please stop notifications? Ugh. Go away. Thank you. Nope. Where are we? General management, about tablet, developer options. Right. No USB device is connected. That's a lie. That's a dirty, dirty lie. Alright. Oh no, that's tethering, not, siblings hate spoilers. Sister works in film, so at least they'll get your expectations are too high. Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. Come on. USB debugging, yes. Verify apps, feature flags, Wi-Fi scan throttling. Don't want Bluetooth. I think I may need to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it just doesn't agree with me that my tablet is connected. My tablet may not like the device. That's okay. What we're going to do then is I am going to bring this up for me because I need it. Hello. We have a few people in here. Welcome. Let me... You've come in the middle of me attempting to start... Oh no, we are back down to 2. Okay. Alright, we're back here. We're back here. Bring up my... Where's my... Ah, yes, I remember all of these notes that I made. Okay. The diagrams that I wrote and erased. That's that, that's that. Okay. So. Let us... We've got this thing here. We've got this budget. We've got this. Just making sure that things are happening. All right. Oh, I'm going to need to do it that way? Okay, that's fine. I don't need to do that badly. Let me... Ah, I see. One moment. Let me just turn that off for a sec while I show information on the screen that probably shouldn't be shown on a screen at all. Yep, that's where that should be. That's where that should be. Here, move that to here. Okay. Now I can turn that back on, and it's like nothing ever happened. I'm also going to turn on my writing music, which I am not sharing on the stream because I don't want to get copyright struck. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Nope. All good. All right, let's have a little bit of a think about this. So I've got these that I wonder if this actually needs to happen. No, I think this is actually different. I think we're switching this up. I think... Let's then move this down here. I'm wondering about this budget plot point. I'm not 100% certain on this budget plot point, if we're being perfectly honest with ourselves and also other people. I like it. I think Thaniel is a very... I'm not sure there's nuance. By that I mean, I think Thaniel is a bit of a placeholder at the moment. I think there are more interesting ways that I can integrate Thaniel into the plot. I think I'm going to note that Thaniel is definitely a member here. And I think we definitely need a... I think that's as long as I can go, given the length of everything, without bringing Thomas back in. Unless I just want to leave him until like halfway through. This is also an option. I could have this be like the Gardner and Gardner show until after here. No, I think that's what we're doing, actually. I think we're putting this here. Okay. But I also think that we are starting to get to the limits of how long I can do introduction things before I do need to start getting to actual plot, given that we have only 20 to 30,000 words to work with here. I need to start doing things. So let's actually put some ideas here. Actually, I think in that case, we can take that out. We can leave this as that. Let's start looking at this. What was that name that I had? If anybody sees me doing weird things with my arms, it's because there's a cat right here. Where are we? Oddman. Something that I've just thought of that I need to think about while I'm doing this. And I'm sorry, you are getting my unfiltered stream of consciousness thoughts, by the way, because there's nobody else in chat right now. And this means that I am providing all of the things. All right. What I'm thinking right now is that I've got these two levels. I was about to say contrast the big important dinner parliament meeting. And I remember that I made that note. Yeah, everything is stream of consciousness with us. This is how we communicate. We've got this. So, at the Parliament dinner, I noted that lively, sometimes aggressive political discussion starts up. Groups still separated, but people are not as tied to their party affiliations as might be expected. I made a note to self that we're still at the point where people are able to have... the party affiliations are very... they haven't solidified yet because all of the parties are still very new. People aren't quite as married to their party specifically as they're going to become. And we are still at the point in this story where people can have political discussions with people they entirely disagree with without it being enough of a problem that they can't be in a room together. It's still very open and free-flowing, but that's gonna change, right? As people get more and more pissed off with each other, basically. And there's a thing that I thought of just now, which is that we've got this kind of like big scale, little scale. You've got whole Parliament, you've got Gardner's group, because Gardner's group is a bit eclectic. So we can set this up as a sort of macro-micro mirroring thing where there's a casual dinner, there is political... So I'm going to put a note to self here, and then I'm going to do the actual details under it, because I'll give myself a guidance note, and then I'll get to talking about what actually happens. So... And this is where I'm starting to resolve as well some of my ideas from these larger concepts down into things that I can fit in the 20 to 30,000 words without losing too much nuance, and also into things that I can express within the bounds of a story without writing a politics textbook, which is a whole thing. I'm going to leave that like that for the moment. I'm going to also say note about group composition. The reason I'm doing this partially, these are the things that I would usually put in as a... I wouldn't usually. Back before I did this big outlining thing, I would put this in the first draft and then I'd have to go back and delete a bunch of words. But in the outline process, this first or the zero draft process, I can just put in notes about the things that I need to know for the scene, which may also still get deleted later as I flesh things out. But it means that I only need to delete a paragraph as I'm doing my explain the story to myself process, which is what I think the first draft is a lot of the time, and it's what I've condensed into this zero draft to make things just a bit quicker. So group composition. Alrighty, so we've got this note to self. Now I'm going to start actually talking about what's in the scene, I guess. Alright. Here's a question. How many people are in this scene? Oh, I have so many cats. It's gonna mess with my green screen even more than it already is, but several cats are present. They have indeed decided it's cuddle time. Or rather, it's time. They've decided it's time that I give some attention to them instead of to the big clicky clacky box. But yes, question, how many people are in this scene? How many people are in this group? I think way more people are in this group than I'm actually going to give names and screen time, which is kind of the important thing. Okay. Actually, I could go with this two ways. I could have Gadna arriving early and introduce people as they come in. I could have Gadna arrive late and people to jump, and so that we get sort of the whole view all at once, which feels like a bit of a writing trick. I feel like Oddman is more of a fashionably late person than Gadna is, but I also definitely need to note the absence of Thomas somewhere in this scene. And I'm just trying to figure out what order these things go in. Oh, I know how this goes. Alright, give me a second. There we go. I'm actually going to change that. So in the original outline, or the original thing, I originally had Thaniel in charge of the budget. Now I have Thaniel being... Oh, sorry. Originally, Thaniel was in charge of the budget. Then I was like, no, actually, I think this is more interesting if Thaniel is sort of the audit of the auditor, is kind of Gardner bringing in someone for essentially quality assurance to make sure that the person that is politically convenient to pick is not running into any corruption issues. Now I think that this is going to be a much more unofficial arrangement. Hello. No. Cat doesn't want any of my shit unless it's ear scritchies. Can I just... I wish I had your... He's got this little mat in his fur that's I've been trying to get out for a couple of days. It's been bothering me. And I assume it's bothering him as well. He seems to like it when I give him scritchies around the area. I think it's a bit itchy. But I don't have the brush here so I can fix it. It's so close to coming out. It's almost untangled. All right. Alrighty, so now we get to name another character. Riss, you are here, and you are the only person here at the moment, so you get special privileges. What do we reckon on this list of names? I need a name for someone who is very loud, very politically opinionated, very jovial, and is about to come in and interrupt the conversation and sort of insist that they don't talk about work, they talk about the more ideological side of things, because he wants to have a good debate. Or she. I haven't decided on gender for this person yet. Feel free to mess with some of these names as well, by the way. I think this might be she. I reckon this is a she. But, yeah. What's the name of this, like, the Brian Blessed of politics, but female? Who's this person? Ocean stuck out? Yep. With that spelling, do you want to tweak the spelling at all? Sorry, I didn't mean to make that noise when I drank my coffee. Sorry about that. Just doing a thing. She has the same name as my uncle, but you think, okay, all right, cool. We have your uncle, apparently. So. Only technically you said it, I went, well, shit, maybe that's why it stuck out to me. Oh, so it's a different spelling, same pronunciation. Homonym. I was talking about homophones for a long time yesterday. My brain was like, no, we're not getting mocked on the internet for saying the wrong word. I have an English degree. I need to have some self-respect. Because God knows nobody else gives you any kind of respect with an English degree. Okay. Refills their favorite drinks and some snacks. Yes, I expect you to yell at me about the world building in this at some point, by the way. Not as in like, I need you to like fix some problems for me necessarily, though I might ask for some help with those sorts of things, but more because like I expect I will at some point fuck up offhandedly and you are gonna yell at me. And that's fine. I welcome this, by the way. Yes. First moment you distrusted your DM is that he didn't answer why a terrorist organization did what it did. Yes. Important. The only reason you're allowed to not mention that kind of thing is because what would be because the PCs are new to the area and they don't have that information yet. They need to find it out for the plot. So, anyway. Uses of practical in politics. I should let everybody know I may not be playing the music that I'm listening to in the thing because, again, copyright strikes, do not want. But as soon as I started to write this paragraph about the people getting into political debates, the song that started playing next on the playlist is called, I don't know what the title is, but off the top of my head, but the chorus is "I'm a freak and I love it." So that very apt at this point in time. Yes, easily understood if you lived it. Yes, because here's the thing. I feel like a lot of the time, most of the time, even if it's different to what their actual opinions and goals are, whether that's because they're hiding something or whether that's because they are not realizing that there's some stuff going on underneath because humans don't always realize what their actual goals are. A terrorist organization will often tell you what they're about. That's kind of the point in many cases. I'm sure there are exceptions to this rule, but I feel like that's one of the things that they kind of want you to know. Anyway. Do we have... I don't want to have this be too much of a parade of introductions one by one, so I might cut this... let me do it this way. I'm going to put in a couple more names here. Oh, I needed to delete Ocean from the base, from the database. So I'm going to go with, let's have a Taban. Whoops. I needed that to be a comma. That's not how grammar works. That's not how punctuation works. That's not how anything works. And who else have we got? I definitely want to use my Isidel. Isidel is just a cool name. I genuinely kind of want to, like, save... I don't know, I want to use Isidel because Isidel is cool. I also kind of want to save that name for another thing. But yes, that's the whole point they tell you. Yes. Isidel is such a good name. I should use that as a protagonist later. I should shamelessly copy myself. Actually, maybe I do just use that for something else. Hold up. I think I have a protagonist that fits in another thing I'm working on. Fuck it. Isidel is the protagonist in another thing now. I need to write that down. Come on. I don't need this anymore. I need this one. Let me just move this over here. All right, there we go. All right, now I need a different name for this person. Maybe after this I also go and do some more. Vicken is good. Vicken is also good. I think maybe we go with the Vicken. I keep on doing that. That's... Who's Vicken? What's another perspective we haven't gotten in on this? Oh. I have a really good way to describe this. It's going to come across as really derogatory. I'm just going to do it. So we've got Vicken, who's sort of Thomas Light, who didn't sort of go off with Thomas when that fracture happened, but kind of lives in the same political space. What are we at? 53 minutes. I am going to pause for a second there. I am going to dislodge the cat, unfortunately, who just sat down, because I do need to... Whoops, that's... No. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs to see that. Yeah, I'm gonna go real quick and just have a little break, have a stretch of the legs, refill various hydration things, and I will be back in just a moment.
Sorry, baby.
Hello, baby cat. Thank you for giving me my chair back. Okay. Let me just do a quick check on something. Is there... Nope, I think we're good. Just had the horrible thought that we might be getting some of that mic feedback that's been a problem for a little while, but I think it was just me moving things around. All right, let me put this back up. Oops. I need that to be a bit louder, I think. The problem with the streaming things is that I have my music in the background, but there is a certain volume of music where I can hear what's going on, and there is a certain volume of music where it doesn't interrupt me making sentences with my mouth, as well as on the page. And those two things do not necessarily overlap. Sometimes actually being able to hear the music means that I'm kind of interrupting my own thought processes when I actually try and speak. Anyway. So, I'm only going to name, because now we've got Gad, Nathaniel, Oddman, Ocean Vicken, Tevin. That's 6. That's a lot of people, honestly. Maybe that's too many. I think if we have Tevin and Vicken be like minor characters and the rest of them kind of fill the main slots, this might be okay. We'll see how we go. We'll see. They may get a bigger role, they may not. See how many words we go through. The number of times I'm going to typo Ocean's name as oh shit in this thing is not insignificant. Hello, welcome, Oiramui. Certain problems with the long walk. I'm certain that Riss would absolutely love to talk about that with you. I am going to ignore chat if that happens because I don't want too many spoilers, but not going to talk about it, that's okay. Movie's too new, that is entirely fair. But yes, I look forward to seeing it so that I can yell about it with everyone. Alrighty. Have you brought anything to work on yourself, Oiramui, or are you just here to hang out and chat and watch? Want to just saw it yesterday, will wait because I like to yell with people. I'm trying to respect people's individual policies on spoilers, yeah. Rereading The Ship Who Sang. I'm not familiar with that. What is The Ship Who Sang? Anne McAfee, dying girl gets implanted into a spaceship. Ooh. That sounds very interesting. Is it short story, novel? Novel. Think it's the best book she's written. I will have to put that on my list. Because I've heard about Anne McAfee. I haven't read, I don't think, anything of hers. But I've heard some things. I've heard some discourse. And I feel like I should give at least one a crack. Oh, yes. We are talking about Dragon Riders of Pern. Yes, no, I have read a couple of Dragon Riders of Pern. I think like the first 2, I never did get into it. Love Perm, but she didn't write it with the peak of her powers. Yeah, when did I read Dragon Riders of Pern? I think I was in high school. So it was either one of those ones where I was like just a little bit too young to really like get it on the level that I needed to, or it was one of those ones where I sort of read it and went, yeah, this has got some interesting stuff in it, but I devoured high fantasy like it was my job back then. So it may have been something that I went, oh yeah, this has interesting concepts, but I'm not super into this anymore. I'm not super into like, this isn't doing enough that's different for me to really sort of grab onto it. Anyway. Genuinely don't remember. I should try and I should definitely try the ship the ship who sang. All right. Given myself a little note in the square brackets there because, again, I'm writing checks with my outline that my first draft may not be able to cache, but that's fine. We'll figure that out as it happens. Let's do that way. Is that a noise that I needed to pay attention to? Maybe. I'm sure I'll figure it out if it is. I just heard a noise in the background and it sounded like Bluetooth disconnecting, which is weird because there is nothing in my house that's Bluetooth that's currently on, so so now we've got to figure out, we've got this tension around Thomas. We've had that fulfillment. I think we're gonna go with just note to self as well as we finish out this scene. All right, so that brings us to outline done. I'm actually just going to do a little bit of maths real quick. Do you write yourself at all, Oiramui, or are you mainly a reader? Or what's your creative thing, I think, is perhaps the better way to phrase that question. You dabble? Nice. Coming of age fantasy. Ooh, very good. It's hard to write good coming of age fantasy, but the good ones are just very good. What am I looking for? Something that doesn't exist. What? No, here we are. What was I doing? So probably about like... What am I thinking? Okay. So I think if I'm just giving myself a little bit of an idea of how many chapters I need to get to the word count that I want this to be, and that number is very depressing. But then any number is going to be depressing that isn't as many as it takes, because you will notice, people who are in this chat, I really hate shutting up. So I know that I've decided to do this more like this is deliberately short because of what it is, but it's a struggle for me to not just write things as long as possible. I'm working on another project at the moment that needs to be within an amount of words that I can publish and have the printing costs not completely overweigh the amount that people are willing to pay for a self-published book. And that, I'm looking at that and going, oh man, this is... I write a lot of online serials where I just don't really need to bother about that kind of physical limitation. And having to look at it and go, what do you mean I only get this number of scenes in the book before it starts to get too long? What do you mean this is, what do you mean my power has limits? Anyway. And that's something like 60, 65 scenes. This one, I'm looking at sort of 20, 25, and I'm going, how am I going to do this? But, so what have we got now? We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, we're getting fairly into things in those 8. Okay. Now, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this trip, and I'm trying to reconcile a couple of things, which is that this is something that Gardner would usually delegate. And I haven't set up in the previous section any reasons why Gardner would not delegate this. Okay, so I've got some options here. Which one am I going with? I've got the option of, I could frame it as, so it could be close to where the City of the Dead is. Gardner could be doing a little bit of reconnaissance there, which means that she'll still need something to tell the people back in Parliament, because she doesn't want to necessarily want to tip that hand. This could also be this is a more serious problem, and the person needs, like, it is clear that the most effective way to do this is for some for a little bit of a display of show up and power at them, in which case it probably needs to get written into that Parliament scene to start with. It could also be a okay, I think I know how this goes. Is this Linux? Yes. Yes. So this is specifically I'm using Manuscript, which does work on Windows as well. It is a Scrivener but open source. But yes, I am in fact on a Linux machine right now. Okay. There's a high percentage chance you program. Oh, yeah. I was about to say no, I don't program it very much at all, but then I remembered that I do game design as well. So yes, I do a bit of programming. I fiddle more than I program. Stuff like one of the things I'm working on at the moment is this manuscript here. I don't think this will work in this at the moment. But if I turn off that compile, where's the... That should have worked. Yeah, it's currently, I've been fiddling with it and it shows the words in the wrong sections. And I need to get in and do a little bit of fiddling with the program so that it's actually checking the correct scenes. Because before it was counting everything, including things not included in compile. Now I think it's only including things not included in compile, and I need to fix that. And also I need to figure out how to make an app that connects to Discord as well, is the other thing I'm working on. I need to do some actual game programming for one of my other projects. But it should be noted that when I say I program and I dabble, I am in fact using one of the Linuxes that requires terminal. That's not because I'm actually good at programming. I am amateur at best. I take other people's code and I change individual words in it to make it do a different thing, but still keep the overall structure. I don't write programs myself. I specifically chose one of the bullshit Linuxes because I hate myself and I like pain, basically. I specifically decided to make it hard on myself to use my computer for reasons that I cannot adequately explain to another human being. But yes. This note foreshadow so I'm going to say that here. We also have then, okay, so then we have I'm actually going to do that in Okay. So now I think I've got enough of a reason to have Gardner actually go on this trip and not to delegate, because I think we're going with it's close to the city of the dead is the real reason, which I may even actually have Thaniel mention um okay. So, yeah, now we've got enough reason for Gardner to go when really this should be a delegation thing. We've got... So let's actually do this. Now, question to ask myself. What kind of preparation is this, and also what are we doing technology-wise? Because do we have motor vehicles yet is one thing, because that's going to affect how I describe things. Do we have telecommunications yet, which is going to affect how I describe things? Actually, let me do a quick should I? Yeah, let me do a quick Google on that, actually. Yes. Come on. Rice telephone, 26th of October, 1861. 1844 was conceived, built in 1849. First telephones invented about 1849. Filed a patent 1854 at Staten Island. Installed in his house to communicate 1857. Didn't develop 1871, 1874, the patent lapsed. Rice telephone from 1857. 1874 device was tested, relatively low intensity. 1878 giving more facility, apparatus combining sequence. And okay, so we're looking at somewhere in the mid to late 1800s for telephones not being a public device, but being available to people who want to install one for a specific purpose. Now, let's go... Where's the... Nope. Where did my search bar go? Anyway, history of the automobile. Here we go. 1649, 1890 petroleum development was hindered. Steam 1769, industrially applied combustion engine 1826. So yeah, okay, so we've got like mid to late 1800s as like this is when they started to appear but not be like super powerful. So they're actually pretty contemporary with each other. So also having a think about this. full disclosure, I've been rewatching Full Metal Alchemist recently, which is like potentially why my brain is asking if we have like a motorcade kind of convoy thing going on. But that's a slightly different era though. Let's have... And also, you know, we could go with the standard carriage thing, but like, given we are basing a lot of this around the vague time of the French Revolution, or at least a lot of the politics here are kind of based on French Revolution politics. Just in order to have a bit of a touchstone. It's whether I do the tech for that or whether I shake it up so that I'm not drawing too much from one source is the other question. So what I think we're gonna do... Let me get to some of the actual plot stuff and I can decide about the trappings as I go. I also don't want to spend too much time describing things that aren't necessarily plot relevant, so I just want to do enough yeah, I think we do have like early motor cars. So that's going to be that kind of open front. How many people does Gardner travel with? So, all right. I'm going to say that if room, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, yeah, do this as a little bit of a like, is there room for this? If room in the scene... no, that makes no sense whatsoever. Nope, that's not how technology works. I'm not writing that after all. Sorry, everybody. Going back on that. So, yeah, okay. Here we go. I kind of want to get this world building in, but I also don't think it's going to serve the plot too much. Let me write myself a note. I'm going to say Oddman. No, I'm not going to say Oddman. I'm going to say... Who would she leave in charge? No, I think it has to be Oddman, given the thing that we've set up with how they are related. Fun fact, I had another story at one point that was going to have the invention of the telephone and the implementation of the telephone be a plot point, but I actually never ended up writing the sequel that would have actually been brought out in, and I kind of want to bring that back. It's not going to happen here. This is not going to be like a huge plot point here, but I think that was a cool idea. I think the idea of solving the supernatural plot line with the invention of the telephone would have been a very cool thing. I am so washed out in that green screen. Let me just... How's the... that's actually fine. Not sure this makes a huge amount of difference, actually. Makes a little difference, but... Sister saw it opening weekend and proceeded to get 3 paragraphs from me. Yep. I think I need to do a setting fiddle. I really don't like the way that this green screen is. I need to, Sure, that's enough. Yeah, you got your long walk rant out of your system, did you, Riss? All right. You never run out of rant topics. That is fair. Completely fair and reasonable. All right. So then we've got... Hey, Evander! Enjoy the early mornings next day if you go to bed that early, but usually it's a bad idea because your dog will wake me up at 11. Dog will wake me up at 11 p.m. for a walk, then won't be able to get back to sleep. Yup. Yeah. Oh, last night went to bed at 7 fighting to stay awake. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, if I go to bed at elementary school time or primary school time, as we say in the non-states, yeah, no, I don't sleep well if I do that. Welcome, Evander, by the way. Hello. I also have the I don't have the dog issue, but my brain is the dog in this context. My brain will wake me up at 11 p.m. and I won't be able to get back to sleep. What are you working on at the moment, Evander? Have you brought something to work on at the stream today, or are we just hanging out? Up at 5:30 for work. Desperately need to not wake up at 4 to 6 hours. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Just sat down, haven't decided. Probably just hanging out. Sounds good. Sounds good. I haven't entirely given up on the idea of sprints. I will do some if some people come in that have stuff that they're doing, but I'm having a good time just kind of getting this done a sentence at a time and chatting with folks in chat. Occasionally you will get my thoughts about the writing process as I go, partially because it's me filling the space because it's a stream and I need to be talking constantly, otherwise it's bad content creation, but also because this will go up on the YouTube, so I should actually, do some actual discussion of the writing, because that's what the whole YouTube series is for. So unfortunately you will get, as I said earlier to Riss, my stream of consciousness, but well, it's just people checking around the place. Now, are we talking a hotel, or do we actually go with... Or is this far enough that we have to do an overnight stop at a hotel? What is the advantage of that? That does give the country a sense of scope. And it gives it a sense of wild... Yeah, I think we do this way. Actually, let's do this way. Stopping at a hotel. Let me do a quick thing. Let's have a look at this. Because we're looking at really early cars, so I'm going to just go with the Model T Ford as an example. Okay, important cars, assembly line. This is the assembly line thing. Top speed was 42 miles per hour, 68 kilometers per hour, which is adequate for the time. Cool. But other cars were faster. That's okay. We're going to keep that to... I'm going to say this is a bit earlier than the Model T. Going to give into the eyes in the... See you in the American morning, Whimsy. See you in the American morning, Riss. Boy. Yes. Talk to you soon. Have a good rest and a good sleep. Okay. Yeah. I can words. I'm a writer doing words on camera for people. I know how to words. Good night. That's 1908. Let's cut that down to about... Actually, let's go back to what we were looking at before, right? Do we have a... Gasoline engines by model, straight 4 engines? No. That's not going to get me to where I need to go fast enough. All right, let me just go back to There we go. So we wanted these locomotives act. Come on, give me forced automobile, existing wagon road, steam powered vehicle. City to city automobile race, 1878. Come on, tell me a model. Come on. 1826. Second Marcus car of 1888. Show me this engine. Gasoline. 1899. Yes. What's this? 1897. Go. Whoops. Excuse me. Cool. Sure. This is fastest. 12 miles per hour. So what's that? That's like 20 something K. View automobiles top speeds and average increased. Yes, that's fine. Give me a number. Yes, automotive age. 1903, I don't care. You know what? I'm just gonna make a guess. Let's go with it's an early thing. Whoops. Because what do we have up here? We had, oh, come on. First person to achieve was in 1913. Yeah, so from 12 miles per hour to 120 miles per hour. So it's about 20 Ks an hour. Let's say it's a bit beyond that. Let's go with like 30 Ks an hour. If you're driving all day, it's actually really hard to do the long haul thing. So let's assume that they're going about 25, 30 Ks an hour on average for about 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours. So what's that? 25 by 5 is 125 kilometers. For 6 is about 150 kilometers. So then that's like, that's not all the way from, hold up. Come on. Can I just type what I want to type? So if I say go directions to 3 hours, 300 kilometers. So we want somewhere halfway in between them. Let's have a look at Euroa. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. It's 162, so that's a little bit too far. All right, and that's Victoria, so and so if you do that in 2 days, yeah, you can go Melbourne to Albury in 2 days at about that speed. If you have two relatively long haul days. Okay, that's cool. Not that that's actually going to make any material difference, but this just sort of gives the idea of a sense of the size of things in my head. Let me just double check that against, like... Now we open the thing again. Come on. So let's go, if we're going to go like Brussels. Yeah. Yeah. We're starting to get to the, like, that makes sense. That's, yeah. This is where we get all of the fun comparisons of how far distances are in different countries, because, like, I want to drive. Please tell me. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about the distance of, like, yeah, okay, cool. And that's like significant. So that will give we can even slow that car down a bit and have it be going like 10 to, yeah, put it in that 10 to 20 Ks per hour kind of. All right. So that feels reasonable. The reason why I'm checking this is not just because it's not because I need to know this, really. It's not because I need to know exactly how far things are apart. I'm just trying to get a sense of, if I say that this is how far they travel, do I have the general sense that this is an area that could be administrated with the tools that these people have available? And I think the answer is yes. I think this is tracking for what I'm saying. All right, so the reason I put ally in brackets there is because I don't quite know yet is this ally or is this potential ally? Is this someone who they are relying on for assistance in this matter, or is this someone they want to get on side? And is this the actual landholder that they're going to be talking to? I think it probably no, I don't think it has to be the landholder. Though I think it sends a statement if they don't stay with the landholder. So let's have a think about this. I think, just see if I can get this a little, yeah, I think that's about as good as we're going to get that green screen right now. Oh, come on. Yeah, that'll do. Actually, this is going to be interesting. So let's... So, yeah, Gadna doesn't like staying with a local noble at essentially what amounts to a summer house. Because it's less personal with the landowner, sends a very strong message about affiliation. But there's not a lot of time in this trip, and Gadna does not get to do this very often. So we're having we have this thing where she needs to get as many things done as possible. Ghost TV. All right, cool. Do. Sorry about that. Just had to block the bot. Alrighty. Some of the Discord servers I've been in, you start to know that the Discord server is taking off when you start to get bot spam in them, which is a bit of a thing, really. Once she has done her just went to meet the some people in the town, some people in the chat. Sorry, I looked over to check chat and my brain did a thing. All right. Actually, let's do this earlier. Adam doesn't know Thomas is still active. Okay. Okay, let's add in another thing next to this. Just shift that immediately to outlined because it's not like I'm not going to finish it before turning off this stream. All right. What am I thinking? Go. Alrighty. So we're gonna skip over the second leg of travel because that's not important. How do I want to do this? Maybe we do have a moment here. I feel like this is a little bit on the nose, but let's see how it runs when we actually get around to doing the writing part of this. What are we at? So... and let's go here since... So, Gardner is uncomfortable enough with this that she decides that she's not actually going to do dinner with the landlord. She's going to prioritize going to the town first. So yeah, I don't necessarily like these choices. I feel like they're a little bit I feel like they're a little bit typical, but also I feel like Gardner might just be a little bit typical as a character, and that's what I'm working with, and that's what we're going to go with. So let's just see how this plays out. Leave is possible to get to the town. Now, what is this? We're going to say governor. We may change that terminology later, but I'll decide that later. Decide this later, but does she try and make that not a threat? Because that is a threat when you are a corrupt landholder. We'll just get people pretty much like and I'm going to decide what these are later because I can't think of them right now, but there's some evidence that these what are they called? Might have some. Not rough edges. Be specific. You're a writer. Be specific. Okay, so I went in a different direction than I wanted to with this, and do I have enough time to do that? Do I have enough time? No, I think we do we're gonna probably don't have anything as fancy as a coffee house this far out. Um, and we're going to do a little bit of a like foreshadowing of what Thomas and Gardner fell out over here, because these local agitators are very much Thomas style, and Gardner is kind of wanting to see herself as this kind of ideology first person, but also very tied to the practical and can't quite bring herself to change that. Um, okay. I feel like this is really too much introduction. Is it too much introduction? We'll see. We'll see if there's any of this that we can crush down later. Um, no difference. Uh, all right. Break to give the kitty a bit of a pat. Okay. Let's... Sorry, baby cat. My foot hurts and I need you to shift. Alright. You can sit back down again if you like. I just needed to switch which foot you were putting pressure on. Need to worry so much, so worry ones have just become too used to how rich people do things. Alright, so I realize that we've now had kind of not really. We've had a lot of parallels set up here really quick. And I think we're okay. As long as I keep these chapters a little bit shorter, I think we're going to be fine. But I actually don't think... Yeah, I think I'm going to need to see how long this turns out in the end in order to see how much of this is too much. Because I think if I cut down on this kind of scene here, I actually need to do a bigger rewrite than is like... I need to do a bigger rewrite than just squishing some scenes together, because this is all very... The way the story is set up at the moment, this all needs to happen, and these are all separate concepts that are being brought out. So let's keep this as it is. Now, do we do this first and then I think we do the other thing first? But we can switch these around if we need to. So, whoops. What's up, baby cat? What you look? So now we get, you know what? I actually think we combine these two. Yes, okay, yeah, that's gonna make this work better. Okay, so we're gonna shift you down here so that I've got a spare to work with if I need it. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go really typical here. I think we're going to go a really kind of... we're gonna do the thing that I talked about a couple of episodes ago on the YouTube, where I don't really have time to make this too much more nuanced than the very basics, so we're just going to lean into it and make the fact that it is a little bit of a stereotype kind of part of the idea, part of the themes, so at least it's not just in isolation. Okay. Good. That's not what I wanted to write. So we're going to go with like ostentatious, conspicuous wealth kind of thing, that slightly insecure new money type thing with this guy. Then we are going to, okay. Strong wish for the so pulls out, not up. They don't have computers. Where is it? So, what am I thinking? Does he actually lose his job? Do I need to specify where it's picked from? Potentially not. Potentially we can just say that this may not be important, but I'm going to say Oddman's contact as well, because we've got that kind of simmering thing of Oddman having not actual, maybe he doesn't use the real power, but he does have actual power over Gadna, at least in her perspective. And doing that little nods to the fact that, yeah, he does have influence that she's using but isn't necessarily happy with, or wishes she could get away with, or could get away with but doesn't feel like she can, muddying those waters. So I think it may actually be good to have it be Oddman's contact. So let's go that. Okay. Okay, so that being said, let's get to the next section. I'm also going to make another note here. What am I thinking? He is actually a... What has happened? Ah, that's what that's done. Okay. Best option of continuing government and also the only option that Gardner. Okay. Oh, I can't do nested like that? Dang. Is that because the... interesting. I think that might be because the, Does that mean the program is counting square brackets forward rather than backwards? Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know why that does that. I don't have the time or energy right now to figure it out. I am just going to keep moving forward. I can decide on the exact circumstances later. Thomas. She is run into by Thomas. I know that the passive voice is much maligned in writing circles, and yes, it's not always the greatest option. This would be a lot snappier in active voice. However, there is just a specific vibe given that is given by she is run into by Thomas that I am unwilling to give up in order to make it any easier to read. So this is what you're getting. So yes, the full theatrical regalia is definitely a post last time they talked to each other thing, and Gardner is not certain at all how she feels about this. He is... I'm not sure exactly how much I want to lean into Thomas has a spy network, but it seems in character. I'm going to leave that for now, but I'm not going to put it in as a definite fact, just in case that needs to change for vibes reasons. All right. So I'm going to note that the reader can tell that Thomas, like this happiness is kind of desperation, or at least it's a... Yeah, there's a bit of... I think desperation's probably the only real way to put that. But Gardner doesn't see this. Gardner has no context of the conversation with Fenswin and how badly it went. Gardner is just taking this at face value right now. Gardner doesn't necessarily pick up on at all. Thomas takes Gardner. Man, the more that I write Thomas, the more that he's just kind of pathetic. He really is. I don't know. There's definitely something in there that says something about this. I do want to write it as nobody is... I definitely want to write this as like... I don't want to come down on one side or the other of Thomas or Gardner in the story. I don't want to say Gardner is better because she is practical, or Thomas is better because he sticks to his convictions better. I really do want to have this as kind of a... These are two reactions that have that cause problems. They both cause problems. It is up to the reader which problems are the better problems to be causing. But yeah, the more that I write Thomas, the more that he is coming across a certain way, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. Mind you, Gardner too. Gardner's definitely got a little bit of some stuff going on. All right, as evidenced by the fact. Conflict over causing or bringing up, I think I should say. Bringing up more. Some internal conflict over this does have to end badly. This conversation has to end badly. How does it end badly? Does it end badly because it ends badly, or does it end badly because Thomas thinks it's ended well? That's what I'm wondering. I think... Yeah. Believes. All right. I think part of the problem I'm having is that because Thomas is so dramatic, I keep on riffing on him in a way that I'm not really riffing on Gadner, which is making him seem like a much less grounded individual in a way that I don't necessarily think the story is going to bear out, but it is very funny to riff on Thomas. Okay. That can't happen, that can't happen. So let's bring this in now. What's going to happen now? Actually, what's going to happen now is that we've been going for 2.5 hours. I'm going to take a quick break because I need to get up, stretch legs, refill water bottle, and I will come back in about 5 minutes or so. If you're here, don't go anywhere. If you're arriving in the next 5 minutes, I apologize. I swear I'm actually here. Hello, by the way. Sorry, I've just gotten back from having a quick break. Hello, the Shadow Legion. The program is called Manuscript. It's essentially Scrivener, but it's... Whoops. That wasn't supposed to happen. There we go. It is Scrivener, but it's an open source program. So it works on Linux because Scrivener does not currently, or at least it doesn't work well. Alrighty. Does it work on Windows? Yes, Manuscript absolutely works on Windows. I'm not sure if it works on Mac as well, but I know for a fact it works on Windows. I used it on Windows for ages before I switched over and brought it with me. What are we up to now? That's right, I need to decide what I'm doing now. Do we follow Thomas for a little while now? Have you got something you're working on at the moment, Shadow Legion, or are you just here to sort of check out what's going on? Let me have a look at my... write something on Manuscript on one computer. Can I work it on another computer? So what you'll need to do is you will need to do what I used to do with Scrivener, which is have a shared folder between the two computers, whether you do that with like OneDrive, if that's your thing, or Google Docs, or I don't know if Google Docs would work actually, but Google Drive, or I used shared folder. That's what I was using. Or Dropbox. And what you do is you just access the file from both devices in that shared file, and then all of the changes just get saved back to a place that gets downloaded to both computers. It doesn't have its own internal shared file system, so but it's not hard to set it up yourself. What are we at? Yeah, okay. Short resolution. All right. I think I need to... All right. What's our next big turning point that we're working towards? So we've just had that. Fensman doesn't come back in for a little while. I can either go follow Thomas or I can continue with Gardner for a bit. I think we need a Thomas scene. Oops, let me do that here. So let's have a look at, is this here? No, that comes later, I think. Don't plan I'm a pantser, but I get lost in what to do next. How should I go with the story? What an excellent question. So I saying this as someone who used to do a lot of pantsing. I didn't become an outliner until much later. Basically, what I used to do was I used to write down, and I unfortunately can't show you at the moment because it's on the tablet and I can't connect the tablet to this computer yet. but I used to do a list of things that I wanted to happen in the story. So whether it was things that I just thought would be cool scenes, or things that I knew needed to happen in order to set up something else in the story that I wanted, right? Whether that was, writing a heist novel, I know that I want them to infiltrate a fancy party. Might be, I just think it would be cool. Something like, I know I need to set up some doubt over whether the villain has found out, or the mark or the target has found out about their plans. So I need a scene where one of the characters gets caught doing something by the villain, or has a conversation that the reader isn't privy to with the villain, that the rest of the characters throws the rest of the characters into doubt, that kind of like structural thing. And then I would have a list of like 7 or 8 of those for a full novel, fewer if it was a shorter thing, but usually about 7 or 8, because I pretty much only wrote novels back then. And I would go, okay, this is the rough order that they need to come in. I know these things come first, these things come later, these things come later. This needs to happen before this. And these are the scenes that can sort of go anywhere that they fit, because there's no reason that other things are dependent on them, either before or after. And once I had that list, I would just start writing the first draft. And then every time I got stuck, I could look at the list and I could go, okay, well, the next thing that I'm working towards is this scene. Is there anything that needs to happen before I get to that scene? Yes, the characters need an object. They're going to this fancy party. Well, they need clothes for it. They're going to this fancy party to talk to someone who knows the mark. They need to do a bit of research about that person first. What's an interesting scene I can write in between that gives them that information? Or shows them acquiring those clothes. And then that basically meant that whenever I got stuck, I could sort of look back at my rough roadmap and go, okay, well, maybe I don't know how to get like all the way to the end, but I can plan out a few things that'll get me to the next pit stop along the way. Which sort of gradually grew into this sort of thing, where I've got a very detailed outline, but this is almost like that first draft process to me. This is me kind of writing out in pretty much most of the detail, all the important things that happen, and using that as that same technique, that here are a list of scenes, how do I get to the next one from here, to do this kind of very rough draft that I can do a structural edit on before I need to go and do a lot of editing on a full first draft. So that's how I used to go about being stuck, or preventing myself getting stuck, when I used to do a lot more pantser writing. Hope that helps. Let me know if you've got further questions. I know that was a lot of me rambling quite disconnectedly and a bit uncoordinatedly. Should I write a standalone for my first book? That depends. What are you interested in? Your first book should be something that you find compelling enough that you're going to stick with it through the whole process. Whether that is a trilogy, like big epic fantasy, 100,000 words each trilogy, if that's the kind of thing that you are into and you know that you can stick with it, yes, absolutely go for it. If you don't think that you have if that's a real daunting amount of work and you don't think you'll stick to it because you'll look at it and go, oh, that's way too much, then yeah, maybe a standalone, maybe a novella, something more. This is going to be like 20, 30,000 words. Planning a sci-fi book series or something like that. So what you can do as well with that sort of thing, and I don't personally like this structure myself, but that is an extremely personal choice. It's very popular. It's very common. No one is going to judge you for writing this. It's just might not be everybody's cup of tea, which is to write write the first book as if you intend it to be a standalone, just to see how you go. And then you can write follow-up books as if they're sequels. And you can start doing multi-book arcs after that, but starting off with the first one as a standalone and then expanding out if you still like that concept at the end of the book, if you are still interested in that world and those characters, and leaving yourself that option for either just leaving it as it is or extending it out can be a really good way to make that decision before you've kind of got a handle on your own process and style. The other thing that you could do as well, if that's something that you're into, is do it as a serial kind of thing. Do it as sort of chapter by chapter serial. And that's a different structure and it's got its own complications. And if you are looking to write a book, and it's called Manuscript. So the program is, let me type it in. It is a slightly... They've spelled it with a K just to be, you know, cool. Where was I looking? What was I looking for? Not that. Yeah, that's right. I was just showing off that kind of thing. So we do have a... I'm going to have a Thomas intermission here. Because I think this is where Thomas starts to get more tangled. But what is Thomas doing here? So we know that Thomas has been gathering allies in this. Please do interrupt me, by the way. I'm just thinking out loud because I don't want the stream to be 100% silent. So if you're interested in the decision-making process, all good. But don't feel like you have to not type while I'm talking because it will distract me or something like that. Okay. We know that Thomas is gathering allies. We know that Thomas is kind of... We know that Thomas's thing is that there are issues. Thomas knows there are issues. They are mostly ideological. There are a lot of things about the current administration Thomas actually agrees with, but there are a lot of things that Thomas resents, and they're the things that Thomas is trying to fix, especially because he and Gardner used to be friends, and he's kind of having issues with that, in that he doesn't like the fact that he says it's a lot of ideology, a lot of it is feeling rejected. So Thomas has a lot of groundswell support and always has, but not a lot of actual... the people are starting to lose their political will to side with Thomas, because even if Gardner is not perfect and Thomas is buying into that perfectionism, regular people are seeing their lives improve enough that it's good for now. Thomas does not necessarily want to break that at this point in the story, but also has a chip on his shoulder. Okay. Maybe this is the time for this. Yeah, okay. So... What sort of sci-fi were you thinking of doing, by the way, Shadow Legion? There's almost certainly some form of train network, right? They've got to have trains. Is this a thing? Okay. Okay. What am I thinking? He arrives at a slightly... About two siblings, they lost their mother. They worked for a company. Their mother worked for Suit Up, which made jumpsuits for the military. Oh, interesting. What kind of jumpsuits? Is it like sci-fi where these are like not mech jumpsuits necessarily, but like very high-tech superhuman abilities type thing? Or is this more of a near future thing where they're just they're a like mild enhancement type thing? Or are they not enhanced at all? Is this just like plain old jumpsuits and the sci-fi comes in a different spot? Don't feel like you have to answer these questions, by the way. If you are not the sort of person that likes talking about your ideas before they're completely thought out, don't make me think that you are obligated to share information that you don't necessarily want to talk about in a public Twitch chat. But no, it's got to be further away from the city of the dead, doesn't it? Okay. Then these Shadow Legions try and steal the suits. At the end, Zane gets trapped in a different dimension and meets the leader of the Shadow. Ooh. Ah, I see. Hence your Twitch name. Nice, nice. Hello. The cat has made an appearance on stream. Hello, buddy. Surely I will get followers and viewers now. There are cats. The internet loves cats. Isn't that right? Hey, welcome Davey's unofficial son. Yes, we do. We love cats here. Oops. Cat is attempting to type things is the only problem. Yep, I've done that now. There we go. All right. Welcome, welcome. Are you working on anything at the moment, Davey, or are you... is this an 18 plus community? It is. So, it is not specifically I am not aware of how many people in the chat may or may not be under or over 18, so take that into account. However, I swear a lot, and I do talk about this one isn't like a horror story, but there's some dark elements, and there's like references to like recreational drug use and stuff like that. So not specifically over 18, but very much content targeted at people that are over 18. So be warned that there may be younger people around. If you are a younger person, feel free to hang out, but be aware that there may be some content not directly aimed at you. Just so many streams where I have to hunt for. Yeah, no, Twitch does make it a little bit difficult to tell sometimes. There is a box you can check for like, does this have 18 plus content? But it does sort of, it specifically references some things, and it's a little bit annoying, and I don't think it's the best way to categorize the content. But you know, I haven't marked the stream as 18 plus only, but yeah. I do tend to try and let people know that, yeah, this swearing may happen, and we may talk about some dark stuff in fiction, but do with that information what you will. Now, I was going to do this that way because I still haven't decided what kind of an establishment we're talking about here. What's this app? This is Manuscript. So if you've ever heard of Scrivener, it's basically, it's very similar. It's designed to be very similar, but it is open source. So it's not, it's free, and it's not, you can get into the code and all of that sort of thing, and you can update it and all of that sort of thing. No, this is not what's... Yeah, no, it's there's some glitches. I'm having trouble at the moment with the word count function because it tends to not, it excludes some things it shouldn't, and it doesn't include some things it should. So I'm currently working on patching that on my version. On Linux, or is the top bar just overlay? No, I'm on Linux. This is partially why I swapped. I used to be on Scrivener, and I did buy the license and everything, but Scrivener is not compatible with Linux, so I had to find something else. So this was my solution. What distro? Arch. Um, I use Arch, by the way. Nah. I chose it because I did want something that was a little bit more bare bones. Not because I'm actually any good at programming, but because I like to make things difficult for myself. And Arch was known to have a really good. It's known to have really good documentation. So if I do run into problems, it's very easy to find people discussing solutions, which was important for me. But usually I do, for my friends that have decided that they might want to check out Linux, I generally recommend to them something that is absolutely not Arch, unless I know that they're good at programming. But yeah, I'm doing pretty well with it so far. It's not pretty, but it works. And I think that's kind of my vibe. I had an idea about how I was going to run this scene. And I wanted to contrast. Only distro I'm thinking of trying is Bazite, but it'd be mini PC connected to the projector or something like that. Yeah, no, that's fair. I've got a couple of friends that have Windows or Mac generally, but have like media servers and things, and they use the Raspberry Pi. What's the distro that's designed to work on Raspberry Pi? That's specifically just for server management. Let me just see if I can fix this webcam filter, because this is doing terrible things. Yeah, unfortunately the lighting is not amazing. And it's, yeah. The world's most professional green screen, everybody. Yeah, alright, let's just do that. Yeah, Raspberry Pi OS, yeah. What was I saying for Thomas? Do you use Linux yourself, Davies, or? Oh no, sorry, you just said the only distro you think you're trying is Bazite mini PC connected to your projector, yeah. Sorry, I brain faded. I should have been reading the thing. But yes, this also does work on Windows and Mac. It's compatible as well, so that is an option. But yeah, the reason that I looked into it at first was because I wanted to see if it was a good enough replacement for Scrivener that when I switched over to Linux it would work, or whether I needed to find a different option. That looks like I've spelled it wrong. Nope, that should be right. Yeah, no, that's correct. It's just a weird looking word. Okay. Alrighty. So now I've got this parallel. How do I end out this scene? I need to start ramping things up now, and I need to start bringing in other things. I actually think I need to start bringing in the City of the Dead at this point. I need to start talking about what they are doing with their time and their energy and how this is all going downhill, and why Thomas thinks that they can do something. What if we start talking about hopes for the City of the Dead? I'm just going to put a couple of question marks next to that because I think that thematically works. I don't know if that logically works with the kind of ideology we're talking about here, but I will come back to that as I start to progress through this section and this scene, and I'll try and see how it goes. Whether this actually ends up in the final draft or not. Okay. There's a question here in asking how Thomas knew how to get into the City of the Dead in the first place. I haven't answered that yet, partially because it hasn't become important, and partially because I have no goddamn clue. I have no clue whatsoever. I may need to decide that because that feels like something that can't just be left to... It's not important. Look over here. Look the other way. I feel like that's an important thematic thread about why Thomas specifically has this knowledge. I really... Hold up. Let me see if I can actually do something about this. Yeah, that just doesn't get any better no matter what I do, does it? No. Okay, fine. I guess we're just getting patchy face. Alrighty, so that's that scene. Whoops. Now that needs to go back here. Now we have already kind of done that, so let's not do that. Where are we at? 320. Oops. Oh, I guess that's just empty. How much of this can I get through? Let me... Oh, hold up. Okay. I know I needed a huge thing that sort of sets all of these groups off against each other. And I think I know what that is now. I think I have the next little section here. Yes. Okay. Love it when a plan comes together. So let me go in here, add a that. Oh, actually, let's call it, because I would do this on my tablet usually, but I don't have the ability to get the tablet up on screen. The program that I use for that is, not currently working, and I need to do a little bit of work to fix that. So we're going to do it this way for now. But so we're starting from the New Chocolate House crew. We have Thomas and Gardiner is not king though because crap. Oh, I need to do a little note here as well. Where are we? Yes, let's do that way. Then we have, after that we have Thomas. So that's what the next little section is going to look like. So how do I get from here to there in like, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're still early on. I reckon we can have, I think what we do is we do it this way. We go, so no. Cool. Then we have one here. Let's call this we've set up that budget earlier, may as well use it. Now, I feel like that's a little bit of a stereotypical thing for Oddman's character, but I'm definitely doing some stuff with that. I think I don't like it, but I may fall back on it if nothing better arrives. So then after that, we add in another one here, which is okay, so that's how this happens. Thomas budget nonsense. So So then so now we have exactly what it says on the tin. They're going to argue over whether gardeners I need 2 more. How many is this now? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14. Excuse me. I need you here, please. What was that number again? 5, 8, 12, 14. Okay. So this is now starting to get towards it's just over halfway for the little back of the napkin calculation I did before. So I actually think I'm still on track. This feels like a just after halfway point for this kind of thing. So here we have Cat, I need that hand if I'm going to type, baby. Hello. Baby cat. Baby cat, why? I know. For those that are... The green screen does funny things to her fur, but for those that enjoy the cat content on the stream. There we go, she's running away now. I moved too much. Okay, go. So then we've got this, Gardner's attempting to do this in a politicsy way, and it's not going to work because the people that are doing the corruption are also career politicians doing a corruption. So then we have Thomas Tantrum. We're just going to call this Thomas Y. All right, and then we have, oh shit, it's Fenswin. So, and what are we at? We're at this. So now, where are we? So 5, 8, 11, 15. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. And then that's going to start to take us into the sort of final section where everyone is just angry with each other all the time. I'm actually not going to go too far into that because I think doing that requires me to do a little bit more world building on the role of the City of the Dead and the purpose of it in the story, and I think I need to leave that till next time, given that I've already been working on this for a little while. But let's try and get a couple of these scenes in before I need to go and work on other things for the afternoon. So let's have a quick... So, putting his person in the position with supervising. I should really grab one of the names out of my names database for the landholder, but you know what? I can do that later. And was that something I need to pay attention to? It is not something I need to pay attention to. Excellent. I love it when things happen and I can ignore them. Okay. I think I need to sort this out because I may have... Yes, there we go. Let me just do that. Ran out of music, the one thing a writer can never do. Do I need to do anything about... Can I just combine these? Yeah, I think I can combine these. I think these can just... let me... Does this cause an argument? Because there will definitely be people that do want this to be done properly. No argument would indicate that they've either all been paid off or that there is something else silencing them. There are... So, this does need to go downwards. It's just what kind of downwards it goes. Are we talking about... obvious discrepancies and... Yeah, okay, so using the reputational risk to government in order to shut people up that might be wanting to do a thing. Okay, and then we start to... Where do we go now? Where do we go now? Sorry, I'm trying to... There is a cat sitting directly in front of the screen where that section of the thing is. Thank you for getting out of the way so I can see what I'm actually writing behind you. Hello. Now, let us... This is now done. Is this now going too fast? We have a lot of... No, I think this is fine. I think this is fine. How do I get a whole scene out of this? Maybe I don't. Maybe I let this be a really short scene. Alright, I'm actually just going to leave that at that. Because this doesn't need to be long. This can be like 300 words. This can just be a moment for Thomas rather than needing... I don't need to make all of these the same length. I'm used at the moment to writing serial type stuff where the chapters have to be a bit more uniform in length. But I actually don't need that here. I can just have touching, like, drop it and go scenes, which is actually doing good things for my word count. So let me do that. Okay. How do I do this? All right, 15 more minutes. I'm going to go for 15 more minutes, which means I'm probably going to get just this scene done. And then I think I am going to run out of the brain required to do this project for the day. Or at least the required to do it on stream. And I want to have a bit more of a think about this Fenswin stuff before I get into these sections. Did this need to go... Does this need to go earlier? Maybe this goes this way around. Yes, okay. That goes this way around. Maybe I need a... That maybe means I need a placeholder here. Or do I just run straight into that? Maybe I do need to sit back and process a little bit more about this. All right. I've actually made a lot of very good progress today. Yeah, let's just sit here for a few minutes and just bask in the amount of stuff that I got done. Whoops. I don't know if that's... Hopefully that hasn't broken anything. Yeah, so we've got all of this, and then we've got... At the beginning of today, we only had up to here. So we've actually done 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 scenes in like almost 4 hours, which is not bad. Not bad, especially for the amount of stopping and thinking, and I spent a little bit of time messing around at the beginning with some stuff. So for next time, yeah, I think I need to figure out... I don't think I'm gonna do that actually. I think I'm just rolling into it. This is a very short thing, and we do kind of need this to have the momentum of freight trains. So this, having that roll straight from the argument also emphasizes this is not necessarily premeditated very much. This is very much a reaction. This is a like stress breaking point for Thomas, because we've had him being like very caged for a lot of time before this, or we should have if I do my job writing it correctly. And then we bring up Fenswin there. I don't need to have Gadner and Fenswin talk before this. I don't think there is anything else that I need to do. And then then I need to have a bit of a think about what Fenswin is going to do about this, what the role of the City of the Dead is in this, and how that gets tangled up. I'm starting to get... Let me go here. Starting to get vibes that the City of the Dead just disappears. Like Fenswin always knew they would. I'm also getting some slight vibes that there's a brief where there is kind of hope. I want that to be almost hopeful in a way. I want there to be like I don't want this to be well, this is just universally bad. I want that to actually have a little bit of substance to it, to be a shake-up rather than specifically an upturn or a downturn. Then still don't know exactly how Gadner and Thomas end up at the end of all of this. And whether or not there is still whether there is still a country and a government at the end of this or not. But I think I'm starting to get vibes of where the ending needs to go. And what I may even do is whoops, I need to do can I? Yes, there. Tree item count, yes, and word count. So, let me... I'm mainly doing this to just keep a sense of how long everything's getting, make it a bit easier to tell what's going on, as in terms of like where everything is fitting together, gives me a sense of how big things are. But I will have I will keep this open so I can see what exactly is going on. Because I do like being able to just look at it all in order as well, and that is unfortunately the one issue of doing things this way, is that it gets unwieldy if you have all of the scenes all together, but if you split them out you can't see them all in a row. So I think that's gonna be how that goes. I'll come back to this. So thank you to everybody who came along, by the way. If you're still in the chat, hello, thank you for being here. I hope you got some of your stuff done while this was happening. I'm gonna put in my Twitch schedule that we're doing this again next week. I think I can only do recurring forever Twitch schedules, unfortunately. And I'm not going to be doing this every 2 weeks. Usually this goes up on YouTube. And I believe there is a link in the Twitch description if you want to see me put together the rest of this. If you want a little bit of context for what just happened, there is a series that basically goes through my entire process up to this point. Hopefully you'll be here in a fortnight and can have a look at the videos in between then, if you like, or you can just come and hang out. Otherwise, I will be doing a game stream tomorrow. I'm playing Silk Song at the moment because, of course, everybody is playing Silk Song. So if you'd like to come along, see more cats, watch me do something that's a little bit more gamey, watch me fail at basic mini-bosses for however long it takes me, please feel free to come and drop by and say hi, and really hope to see you there. There's all of the links in the Twitch description-y things. I think I've got all my social medias, so please feel free to come and say hi. And yeah, thank you everybody, and see you at the next thing. Thank you for everybody who followed, and thank you for everybody who came and kept me company while I was doing this. You've all been amazing.